There's a scene in one of my favorite movies, The Princess Bride, where Miracle Max is bringing Wesley back to life. If you remember it, here it is.
What's so important? What you got here that's worth living for?
True love. True love, you heard him? You could not ask for a more noble cause than that.
This noble cause can be a driving force for your entrepreneurial journey. I'm not saying you need to fall head over heels in love with your spreadsheets, but having a noble cause, a mission that goes beyond just making money, can be the secret sauce that keeps you going when the going gets tough. So today on How to Founder, we're diving deep into this whole noble causes thing. How can a little healthy competition or a lofty mission light that fire under your ass and your team's ass and propel you to the next level? We'll be dissecting strategies, and we'll give you the tools to harness these powerful forces on your own founder journey. Welcome to the How to Founder podcast. I'm Anthony Franco.
And I'm Chris Franks, and How to Founder is a podcast about the practical advice for startups and founders that you won't learn from college professors like me.
Chris, I love The Princess Bride, and there's so many great quotes, like, you killed my father, prepare to die is like the best noble cause ever, right? Do you have a favorite movie that connects to a noble cause?
One of my favorite, pretty much every movie, and every movie that has any sort of founding theme has some sort of noble cause. But one of my favorite movies of all time is completely random, but I love baseball. And I think baseball is one of the greatest analogies to being a founder of all time. And I love, in Bull Durham, this idea of this kid coming to the major leagues. He's the hero. He's the journey. It's about harnessing the talent, the ability that this guy has, and Nuke Lelouch getting to the major leagues. Now, Crash Davis is probably old like us. He's like, we're has-beens. No longer really on the way up, probably on the way down. It's probably a little bit more, like us right now. We're guiding, probably should be retiring, but we're not. So I love this idea of a destination of getting someplace and the passion and energy and direction it takes to get there.
I was really worried you were going to go down the road of Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come, which is the most common founder mistake ever, right? Like, I'm going to build this cool product, and so I'm really glad you went Bull Durham and not Field of Dreams.
No, I will say that Field of Dreams is terrific if you want to cry and question the relationship with your father, but it is not a good founder movie. It is not a movie you want to watch and be like, oh, I'm just going to build something, and surely people will show up and pay attention to me.
It is the most overused trope from entrepreneurs. I don't know. I built it. I thought everybody would love it, and nobody's buying it. What do I do now?
and also, like, who the fuck is whispering in your ear at that point? Like, you as a founder, you're going to listen to, like, somebody's like, oh, if you build it, they will come. Like, first of all, it's not true. And second of all, like, if somebody's whispering in your ear, you probably need to seek psychological help. So, like,
if it's James Earl Jones, I'm probably going to listen to him. But or if I'm Noah and God's whispering in my ears, that's probably the only two times that I'm going to build something. But other than that,
that's right. Yeah.
All right. Let's getting back to this noble cause. How do you translate the concept into something that a founder can actually put into practice?
I think that the piece that is most important to understand about the founder journey, and you and I talk about this all the time, is that it's exceptionally hard. It is a very, very difficult path. Now, you and I call it the best, worst job in the world. It's amazing. We wouldn't do any other job, and we love it. But
we wouldn't do any other job?
Well, okay, couldn't do any other job.
All right. Sorry,
it's way more like that's it. We could not do any other job. Yeah, exactly. And it's funny, like every time I think that might not be true, I just get proven the fact that I'm truly unemployable. Like, it's just not. Yeah, it doesn't work. But in this path where things are so incredibly difficult, so incredibly hard, when you're beat down, when you're tired, when you feel like every single break is going against you, this idea of what's behind you, what's pushing you, your noble cause, your why, is the thing that will get you out of bed in the morning. It will get you out of bed that next day. And, in my case, sometimes it was stupidity that got me out of bed. Like, oh, I think I could probably be successful in a company idea that's terrible. But when you really are against the brakes, that noble cause is the thing that moves you. It's the thing that gets you to that next level.
So you're talking about why you need one, which I agree, but how do you craft one?
Yeah, I think
so. Tactically, like, I'm a founder. I have this great idea to build a widget. How do I, the why kind of, we'll get into the why a little bit more, but the why really is kind of self-evident. It's like, all right, so how do I craft one that doesn't sound silly or stupid, and that is actually going to move the needle?
So my advice is somewhat it's touchy-feely, shockingly, right? It's, in most cases, we as founders, and particularly as CEOs, people that run companies, we've been taught to identify what are our company's core values. What is our company mission statement? What is our company vision statement? In very few cases, when I talk to a founder and say, what are your values? What is your mission? Why do you do this work versus any other work? They struggle to come up with that same answer. If I ask them what their company mission is, they could say it in 2 seconds. But when I ask them to come up with their mission, with their values, what it is that guides them, they really struggle to connect with that. And so my advice is super practical, which is there is 1 million resources available for how to set a company's mission, how to set a company vision. Apply that same rigor, that structure, that goal setting, that visioning to you, to the founder. What is it that you want to accomplish in the world? Why are you so passionate about this? So Anthony, why are you so passionate about how to founder and being a founder?
Yeah, so my noble cause, this is complicated.
So that's why, right?
Yeah,
like, it's hard.
So it depends. It depends on, I have an identity, right, of who I am, and that's my identity is entrepreneur. But that's not my noble. That's identity, and your noble cause is different. Noble cause is more about why do I choose to pursue the thing that I'm pursuing. And it is different than a mission statement, right? So, like you said, a mission statement is the reason for this organization to exist. But the noble cause for me is the reason to care, and the pursuit, and it should be very aspirational and really resonate with you internally. So yeah, and actually, in a little bit, I'm going to jump ahead just for a second here. So part of this podcast for our listeners is we're going to talk about entrepreneurism. Chris and I we're actually crafting a book based on the podcast episodes that we're creating. And so it'll be Chris and I talking, and we'll also invite guests for various sections of the book to help us fill it in. And one of the things that we're going to be doing is you're going to see the sausage made, right? So you're going to see us build the company How to Founder while talking about being a founder. And so we're live going to try to come up with our noble cause and enemy, and we'll talk about that. We'll do that in a little bit. So I'm not going to jump. I don't want to get to that. I don't want to get to that exercise yet because we're. And Chris, just so you know, Chris and I have not really talked about what our noble cause is. So you're going to see us argue about that in a little bit.
I don't think you should be talking about your sausage. Is all my point. Like your sausage.
Yeah,
just saying we'd probably get
on.
Canceled before we even get started.
You know me way better than that. All right, so we talked about a little bit what's the difference between a mission statement and a noble cause. How do you can you tickle on like what is a mental thought experiment that you could do to start to understand what your noble cause is?
So I think that there's a few exercises that I've been through, and really, just in the past 6 months, as I've been sort of trying to figure out what my next steps were in my life. And so there's a few pieces that I like. The first one is write down all the things that you do, and write down all the things that you would like to do, and say, like, in 5 years, just say, I will be doing these things. And it'll be unreasonable, right? You'll have 25 things that are possible for you to be doing in this amount of time. So more of a brainstorming exercise than a practical exercise. Like, hey, I think I could be a CEO. I think I could found another company. I think I could be, go back and be a history teacher. All those things. And start to take them away. And as you erase those pieces, be very conscious and mindful about how that feels. And I'll give you the example. So as I was considering what to do next, the most practical and responsible thing for me to do, was to go get a job as a CEO. I've been a founder a long time. I've been an entrepreneur a long time, but you learn to be a pretty good CEO if you do this job for a long time. And I felt pretty good about my ability to go operate a company. And I was like, maybe there's a couple cool opportunities out there. But as I was doing that, I started to take away the other things that I was doing. And one of them was teaching at CU Denver. And the moment I took that away, it hurt. It felt like loss. It felt like something that it felt a little bit like mourning almost. Something came up. And that in the past, I would have just sort of, plowed through that and said, don't feel the feelings. Just keep pushing the feelings down. Don't address the feelings. But when it came up, I started to realize that thing was something that needed to be part of my cause, be part of my identity, be part of the thing that I wanted to do in this next chapter. And so that loss component,
it's interesting.
It can be super important, because oftentimes we try to add things and it just doesn't make sense. But when you start to try to take them away, that's when you'll really trigger that notion of like, where does this live? Is this something I love? Or is this something that is just like, could take it or leave it? What about you?
What you're talking about is really interesting. So I, and Chris, I came into this conversation thinking about noble cause for a company that you're starting, and you're talking about noble cause for you, right? And that's
yeah.
And I think both are really like valuable. So as certainly as a founder, you need to understand your noble cause. And I didn't answer your question. What's your noble cause? And my noble cause is I love entrepreneurs, and I like helping entrepreneurs, and I think helping entrepreneurs does good in the world, and that's my noble cause. Then you got to dig into like, okay, now the thing that you're doing, the company that you started, that needs to have a different noble cause than yours. And they need to align, obviously, if you're running the company. But the company itself, the people that work for you may not like entrepreneurs, and they would be normal if they didn't. So you need to define something specifically for your business that isn't a mission statement. A mission statement's different. The noble cause is really the fun, the Simon Sinek, why are we doing this? Why does this matter? How are we improving the world is a little bit maybe too lofty for most people, but if you're creating a restaurant, why this restaurant? Why do the people want to come in to work at that restaurant? It could be something as simple as we want to make the best tacos in downtown Denver. That may be enough, right?
So here's where I disagree, which is okay. What you're saying is that in any sort of founder-led organization, that your noble cause of your business can be different than the noble cause of the founder or founders. I don't know that that's true. I think that almost every founder-led organization, what that founder wants to see in the world becomes a fundamental part of what that organization becomes. And when you're hiring, when you're fundraising, when you're finding customers early on, it is the passion of the founder. It is their reason, it is their journey, it is their noble cause that attracts talent, that attracts people, that attracts customers. I'm not saying it has to be directly aligned, and you and your life and my life.
I think they have to be aligned. I just don't think they have to be identical.
I would agree with that, so long as there's alignment.
Yes,
where I've gotten in
absolutely
trouble,
have to be aligned.
right?
Yeah.
Where I've gotten in trouble is I've built companies and organizations that I struggled to find my why, that didn't feel like they were aligned with what I wanted to be, who the person that I wanted to be, and my cause. And so, like, I think that making sure that there's alignment, making sure that there is a very clear path from why you exist in the world. What gifts have you been given? What passions do you have? And making sure you are aligned to whatever that company is.
It's a really interesting point, Chris, because I've started and exited quite a few companies, and a lot of business owners will look at me like, "Why did you exit? Like, why did you bow out?" And unconsciously, it was because my why was no longer aligning with where the company needed. My why and the company's why became misaligned, and so unconsciously I was like, okay, I need to find somebody else that can carry this forward, because it doesn't align with why I've been put on the planet.
And knowing you, like, and knowing your passion for creating and building, that creative act. There are people who get up every morning and their passion is building a great company from 10 to 100 people. It's just not mine, right? This is not the thing that I'm super passionate about. Their why is building cool organizations where people feel trusted, safe, and respected.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's an awesome why, right? But it's just not my why.
It's just not yours. Exactly.
Yeah. I always kind of get there when it's like middle man. You just have to start hiring middle managers. It's like, okay, this is not for me anymore.
The moment there's an HR handbook is when I start to get uncomfortable, because
I'm not there because I'll have fun with the HR. I've written quite a few of them, and I've had a lot of fun with them. Like Effective, and Andy McIntosh was there when we started writing it, and we only had one policy in our handbook, and that was we had a no wedgie clause. So you can have fun with an employee handbook, and what's fun is because it went back to our why. We were there. We were there to do good work and have fun doing it, right? Yeah. And so you can reflect your company culture in an HR handbook, but at a certain point, right? Once you get to 75 people, that no wedgie clause just it looks childish. The culture changes and you just look like kids, and it can't be there anymore. But that is actually a true story.
That's pretty funny. And also, if I knew that you could write an HR handbook with one policy of no wedgies, I probably wouldn't have used that rule either. Like, every time that I've done it, it's like, I have all these policies. That would have been good. And also, I've definitely scaled multiple companies to 75 people too. So,
all right, so
that's amazing.
So how can we make sure that noble causes can go too far, right? So how do we make sure that it remains authentic? Excuse me, authentic and meaningful rather than just a marketing tactic. Like, how do you make sure it just doesn't sound like a tagline?
It's a great question. And like, I feel like this is one of those classic things where the meaningful can become cliche very fast. And particularly for any founder, one of the things that every founder has to do is tell that story, tell their story again and again and again and again, to the point where it's like, it starts to kind of feel a little, just not authentic anymore. I think that the one piece, and this is really hard because what I just said was, I think that every founder-led organization has to have a piece of their founder as part of the company. But as you start to get a group of people, as you start to get people that follow you in any organization, that why should broaden. Because it's not just anymore about the thing that you want to see in the world. It's also about what we want to see in the world. And what we want to see in the world, while hopefully we're aligned, it might not be this super specific thing. It might start to be wider. It might start to be a bigger, grander vision. And the only time that I've ever really felt in any company that I saw that started to feel really cliche about their noble cause was when it failed to evolve to meet the needs of the broader company and about what it is that they were trying to achieve. And it just started to feel a little bit narcissistic about that founder.
Oh, that's really so that's really interesting because there is this tension, right? In a founder-led organization where fundamentally culture is set by the founder, by the person running the organization. That's where the culture is set. People talk about culture all the time, and it really starts with and ends with the founder. And I know a lot of founders that don't want that to be true.
Yeah, that would rather be like, I'm going to hire a culture czar.
Yeah, it's you're exactly right. You can't outsource it. It has to be you, because the person you put in charge of running a culture is not going to get it right for you, right? You have a sense, and is in a sense, people choose to work for you and your values.
That's right.
And people that don't keep working for you are ones that don't align with your values. That's just fundamentally how a founder-led organization is run. And there is this it's this really interesting thing that when I talk to founders about this. It's like, well, at what point is this just an ego feed? And how do I balance that tension between this organization being run by my ego, versus this organization being run by values that are bigger than me? And frankly, I've seen a lot of founders that are ego driven that make the company about them that are really successful. So I don't think and I've seen organizations become really successful where the founders are incredibly humble and giving. And I don't think there's a right answer to that. I don't know what you think about that, Chris.
I think it's really hard, but the one of our whys, and I don't want to steal our thunder for what we're going to talk about when we start to debate our noble cause, but you really can't buy your own bullshit. And the old joke about Guy Kawasaki says, when do you know a founder's pitching? It's their mouth is moving.
Yeah.
And you get to a point where you are just pitching all the time. And you pitch to employees, you pitch to customers, you just start to do this. The difference is that successful humans, and I'm not talking about founders, because outcomes oftentimes are not as closely correlated with the quality of the human being and the quality of the founder. There are people that we know that have sold companies for a whole bunch of money and are filthy, filthy rich, that ran terrible organizations, had terrible cultures, and were just bad people, right? Hopefully, you want to be a good human being. Hopefully, your goal and outcome is not just to make money, because if you're in it for the money, you will fail almost every single time, right?
No, I don't agree with you on that. I don't agree with you on that.
Tell me. Well, so let me finish my first point
Yeah.
and get back to it, and then come back to it, which is the idea of is you need to surround yourself with people that can be like, dude, you're being a dick. Stop. How do you fit in a founder seat? It's incredibly lonely and isolated. How do you find people that will tell you the truth? So get back to tell me why I'm wrong.
So I think you're talking about, ironically, you're talking about how you would run an organization and how what type of leader you want to follow, right? And you want to be that leader. I know a lot of people that are horrible individuals that run really strong companies that surround themselves with yes men. Chris, we both seen it, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're probably right. I hope it's not true.
And it's not about like, I don't want to be that person, and that's one thing. But at the same point, there are people, there are employees, there are folks that just want to be told. They want to be micromanaged. They want to be told what to do. They want to come in, work the 9 to 5, and leave. And they value that incredibly strong-willed leader to be at the top.
But there's a difference between wanting to feel safe and working for an asshole. Like, feeling safe is one thing, and that's
how many
that's a
people do you
human-
know that continue to work for an asshole?
I mean,
Why don't they leave?
That's a good point, because like, what's the safety component of that need?
Right. I just, the reason why I point that out, and I'm not telling people to be assholes. I'm just saying, you can't judge how a founder leads an organization. The ultimate the ultimate outcome is the results, right? The ultimate quality, the ultimate judgment of a founder is the results of the organization they're leading. And you can like that or not, but that is the game, right? It is capitalism. It's the results. And so I know a lot of people that actually force themselves to be an asshole because they believe that's how you win, and that's not true either.
Right.
So there's this balance of, you have to look at people that you don't respect that are successful and go, okay, so what are they doing that I can bring? What tactics are they using that I can bring in and make it authentically me, but valuing the piece of the game that they're playing better than you, right? So anyway, I agree with you that I can't work for somebody that's a bad leader, but a lot of people can. And getting back to the noble cause, those leaders, I don't even know if they may be running without a noble cause, and it goes back to like all founder advice. Like, you can take it all and absorb the stuff that works for you, and then throw the stuff out that doesn't. And this is certainly one of those topics.
I go back to what Jerry Colonna says. Jerry Colonna, author of a book called Reboot, one of my personal heroes. He says, better people make better leaders. Better humans make better leaders. And he also acknowledges the fact that nobody knows what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah.
But yet, you as a founder, you have to show confidence. You have to show up and look like you're confident. But to your point, there's a really fine line between being confident and being overly confident, which I would call an asshole.
Maybe there's definitely a line. There's definitely a line, but I don't know if that's like really, like, think of the really, really, really successul the entrepreneurs that are put up on pedestals.
Yeah, the Elon Musks of the world.
Not good people. Well, I want to leave names out. Like, I could add a bunch of names to that list, and opinions of them vary, but the truth is, a lot of people have looked at Steve Jobs and Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg, and have said those people are not good people.
Yeah.
And you can't argue the results. And if you're investing, if you have $10,000 to invest, Are you going to invest in an asshole or a guy that is a good person? I probably would invest in the asshole. If those are if like all things being equal, who am I going to invest in? Probably the asshole.
Yeah, but I think there's also a couple of pieces. Is that like I don't know. I've called Mark Zuckerberg a few times. He hasn't returned my calls. Whatever, Mark, call me. Like, whatever. So I don't know him personally, right? Like I don't know. He might be a terrific dad. Like he might be a terrific husband. He might be a terrific person. And
right.
I don't know that to be true. I think that there's only these kind of weird narratives that we hear. So I can't say that they're a complete asshole. But like Steve Jobs was apparently just a prick to work for, right? But he was maniacal. He had his noble cause.
It depends on who you talk to, though. That's also the other thing. It's like, I know people that work for him and have a tremendous amount of respect for his clarity of vision. And they loved working for somebody that was relentless about being a meritocracy.
And that's where it comes back to the noble cause. Everybody, like he was so passionate about building great products.
Yeah.
He didn't care about people's feelings. He wasn't warm and cuddly. He wasn't fuzzy. But the people that worked best for him shared that passion, shared that noble cause.
Yeah,
and he was
absolutely right.
He was a terrific storyteller. He was so good at able to telling and to get people aligned and say the world needs great products. And the technology is building shitty, horrible, ugly, poor working products, and we can solve that problem.
Yeah.
And so that noble cause, he rallied an incredibly talented group of people behind that. He was able to find those people, which is pretty neat.
One last note on Zuckerberg. So, and the reason for the noble cause needing to be valuable. Did you watch The Social Network? Have you seen the movie The Social Network? Yeah. So essentially, Facebook's noble cause was getting Mark Zuckerberg laid, right? That's fundamentally.
I don't think he said that, but that's what the Social Network implied.
I don't know how accurate that movie was, right? But I'm betting it was pretty dead on. And so the entire organization was founded on this noble cause of college hookups, and
it may have been
the result, right? The result. I know Facebook is a great success story, but for society, maybe not. And so I think the two correlate. I think the founding noble cause of Facebook correlates to its impact on society. I may be wrong though.
Here's where I'm going to just disagree, which is,
okay.
and maybe because Zuck, call me. But I think that maybe as opposed to getting laid, you could reframe that to say, in a world of isolation, in a world where people were sitting behind computers, he was trying to create a more connected and integrated world. Now, there is a great story about Pandora's box here of when he tried to do something, what happened. Now, my point there is, I think if they stayed true to just wanting to build incredible connections and make sure that you had a world and a place that was safe for you to connect with your neighbors, friends, and your high school friends, right? It would have been a great platform, but they didn't. They lost their noble cause because it became profit.
I think you're shoehorning. So that's what. So the noble cause was college hookups, and the marketing team took that. The marketing team took that. Like, how do we spin this? It's about connection. It's like, okay, yeah, whatever. Like, but in reality, it was about college hookups. So I think they're trying to polish a turd in that circumstance. And
well, in which case they still lost their noble cause because
you're right. They
became about political rants
into dopamine inducing advertising platform.
Yeah, because they could have just done like Tinder. That would have been, like...
Right.
Maybe that would have been more true to their noble cause. Like, it's a hookup.
Right.
It's cool.
Exactly right. All right, so noble cause gets you so far, right? So noble cause, The flip side of that same coin is what you do when the noble cause is starting to feel a little flat. And that's I call that creating an enemy. And so we talked about Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, he famously had a picture of Michael Dell on his wall and called it boring beige boxes.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan did this famously by manufacturing slights that his opponents used to give him during a game to rally himself around crushing a team. There's so many games and so many stories about Michael Jordan, and I do think that having an enemy can rally the troops when things start to go stale. So, do you have any thoughts on creating an enemy, and how does that feel to you?
I think it's as important as having a noble cause, and because like if you have something you want to see in the world, and if you as a founder, you're saying my noble cause is about this change, this fundamental difference that I want to see in the world, there is some reason why that's not existing. There is some force, some piece, some inertia, something that is stopping that change from existing. Identifying that thing can be incredibly powerful if it's not overused. When it becomes overused, it can kind of become a little bit of a toxic thing, and it starts to be this. And so if the story that is famous and is Uber, right? Uber and Travis, like I don't know that guy, and we sort of came up at the same time, but he was famous for creating these enemies of this local governments and the taxi cab, I don't know, they call them tokens or something like that. And the culture he created in his company ended up getting him fired because it was so aggressive and it was so toxic and it was so warlike that they missed out on the love component. They missed out on the noble cause component. It came just about the enemy. And so, yes, an enemy, something that you want to see, the boring beige box, we want to juxtapose what it is that we're doing in the world, is critically important so long as it's not overused, right? What do you think? What's yours?
I 100% agree. I've actually been an enemy. Like, I have been somebody's enemy.
Nice. Who's enemy?
And so I, it's funny because it like hit me sideways, and it wasn't me. It was my company.
Sure.
So, quick story on that. So when I was running Effective, Effective was a services agency that built UI for Fortune 100 companies. We were at a trade show, and this same company that started out with the no wedgie clause. We were at a trade show, and we were about 60, 70 folks and doing a lot of thought leadership stuff. And one of the guys that chose to work with us, his name was Sean Crispin, an incredibly talented, gifted, creative developer. He gave a talk at the trade show. I think it was the Adobe Max. And one of our competitors in this space, who was known for being really aggressive, just happened to come into our booth, and Sean and I were standing there and talking, and he looked at Sean Crispin and he said, "I would love to just get in." Like they had a boxing ring in their booth. He says, "Sean, I'd love to get you to come into the boxing ring." And Sean looked at him and said, and like laughed and giggled and played it off. And so he goes, "Well, why?" And he goes, "Because I would just love to punch you in the face."
Whoa!
And Sean, who is the most affable, nicest guy you could meet, just kind of looked at him and was like, I just kind of want to do good work. Like he was lost. And it was, and that's what I would call taking that enemy thing too far, right? Yeah. It's like you're so focused on competition, you're looking in the rearview mirror, that you can't look forward. You can't look at where you want to be. You know who you don't want to be, but more importantly, you focus on who you do want to be. So I think the noble cause is much more important, but the enemy, and that pulls you forward, and the enemy maybe pushes you from behind.
Right. It's like in movies, where it's like, oh, you've got a hero, he's on a journey, he's trying to achieve something, and then his enemy kind of ends up being more likable than the hero is. It's like that thing. It's like, oh, well, actually, it's like if you don't have that true, like, oh, it's passion, and then like the guy that's the guy's just being a dick, right? Like, it's like, I want to punch somebody in the face. Come on, dude, really?
right. we laughed about it, like, wow, they're really focused on us, right?
Also, like, it's kind of got to make you feel a little bit secretly good that, like, people are waking up in the middle of the night thinking about your company. Like, they're like, we're worried about. And it's like, dude, we have a hard time tying our shoelaces. Why are you worried about us?
Why are you focusing on us? It's really funny. All right, so let's jump into our exercise, Chris. I think our noble cause is going to be easy. I think we're going to have more fun with the enemy.
Yeah.
So for how to founder. So we are building essentially a community content and coaching for specifically for founders. And we're starting here in Colorado, and then we're going to be branching out, hopefully nationwide. So, Chris, why are we doing, like, what's our noble cause?
It's a great question. So the way that I describe it is, I'll say what I believe, and I think you agree with me in some things, but it'll be interesting to see what you disagree with. Which is, I think that founders, and we use the term founders very explicitly.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs is a subset of being a founder. But founder is a broader category. Founders are the people that create value in our world, in our society. A founder could be somebody that
Wait. I'm sorry to stop you, Chris. You think entrepreneur is a subset of founders, or founders is a subset of entrepreneurship?
No, I think founders, the art of foundering, is a top level, and an entrepreneur is a type of founder.
Oh, I see it opposite. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
So a founder is the top level. A entrepreneur is a subset. But there are other people. So, and by way of example, a really good friend who started a not-for-profit. He is a badass motherfucking founder. He will run through walls. That guy's incredible. Is he an entrepreneur? Entrepreneur, by definition, almost is somebody that seeks profit. Is he a social entrepreneur? Is he an impact entrepreneur? Well, I don't know. So we just say founder, right?
Okay,
so to
fine,
me,
fair enough.
a founder is somebody that creates value. We as a society have bigger, more pressing, more important problems to solve. And founders are the ones that solve those problems. They are problem solvers by definition. They see problems, and the vast majority of the world goes, that sucks. And a founder sits down and starts figuring out how to solve them. Within that world, there is charlatans, there are sharks, there is bullshit merchants all over the place. And there are very, very few resources for a founder to turn for the very practical blocking, tackling. How do I do this work? How do I find people that are part of my tribe? How do I connect with people that do what I do? That, to me, is as important as work as anything. It is an incredibly important noble cause. Founders need each other. We need founders as a globe, and founders need each other to help them along the way. And that's why us as founders, people that are passionate about this job, this work, are here to help this group of people. What do you think? What's yours?
So I take it like you said something earlier, and I've tweaked it a little bit. And we've unfortunately we've talked a little bit about our noble cause. So this is the easier piece of it. I just founders are the pioneers of a prosperous economy. So they're the ones leading the way, and now to dovetail into what you said, it's lonely, and it's incredibly lonely, and there's no. It is almost entirely no common shared knowledge about how not to F things up.
Yeah.
And like there's a lot of stories about how Jeff Bezos run meetings, and there's a lot of stories about looking at founders, looking at very successful founders and telling their story. But you told me a story like it's like you're listening to this podcast about a founder, and it's like, all right, here's my beginning, and here's where I wound up, and then all the stuff in the middle is just kind of glossed over. Like and that's the execution piece is what founders want to know. Like it's like, well, how did you build a sales team that could do $100 million? Like how did you, and how do you do the things that all founders need to kind of figure out on their own? There's so much that we're just left to us to figure out on our own. That my noble cause is, first of all, I believe in entrepreneurship. I believe deeply in founders and their ability to drive good in the world.
Right.
And they need help, and they need connective tissue, and they need other founders and tools to figure out how not to screw things up as they're going. So that I don't know how to crystallize that in a noble cause, but that's why I get out in the bed in the morning anyway. Like regardless of how to founder, I'm talking to entrepreneurs all the time and there's this energy that I get when, I make a joke where, if I'm in a room of people that I don't know, and I like, oh, there's another entrepreneur. Like I go up to them, oh, founder, like I just like you're one of me. Like I don't know what to say to other people, and so that's how the noble cause kind of aligns with me. It's like I crave other founders, and I want and I've been fortunate enough to network, and I want to help other folks tie into that founder network.
Jerry Seinfeld in his Comedians with Coffee thing, he basically is like, look, I'm super rich. The only thing I want to do is hang out with other comedians.
Right.
I feel the same way about founders.
Yeah.
I feel like my life is successful. My day is a good day when I get to hang out with 2 or 3 other founders.
Yeah.
And like I always say, if you're lucky enough to hang out with founders, you're lucky enough. If you can be in a room full of founders, holy man, there is so much energy, electricity, excitement, and the like almost underlying sense of optimism of people that want to do good and whatever their vision is, and they're wildly different, and that's okay. And sometimes it's I want to start $1 billion company, and sometimes it's like I want to clean up the trash in my park. That's fine, because that's just their vision of good. But almost by definition, you are somebody who thinks they can do things, and it's incredible to be around those people. Incredible, and that's
or are frustrated with the way things are done, right?
Yeah. Right.
So getting back to that noble. So fundamentally, we agree. We're so totally aligned on our noble cause, and that is founders drive growth. Period. Founders, people doing things new, solving problems in new ways, are the cornerstone of capitalism, and capitalism is cornerstone of our economy.
Right.
So therefore, who is our enemy?
I've got a couple, but I want to hear yours first. You go.
So, high level, I look at what are the things that disable founders, and I'm going to get really boring and political here for a second. I think the number one. There's 2 things. The first thing is the thing that disables founders is what I call regulatory capture or rent seeking, and it's exactly. I'm going to bring up Mark Zuckerberg again. It's exactly what he's trying to do. It's exactly what he's trying to do when he says we need AI regulated, we need social networks regulated. Regulation helps Facebook because it makes it really difficult for small guys to come in and start a social network. It's really difficult for small founders to jump into a highly regulated industry. So I think regulation is one of the problems for founders to actually be successful. The other one is monopolistic behavior. Again, looking at Facebook, looking at Amazon, they are incredibly monopolistic and incredibly vicious when it comes to newcomers into their market. So ironically, my enemy, and we can put any face to it, my enemy is founders that are making it hard for other founders. It's like, dude, you know what this is like. You know the struggle that these guys are going. You've been through it, and now you're making it hard. It's like you sold out. You sold out to the system. Yeah. Like I get mad at I get like mad at when I hear Zuckerberg testifying in Congress that we need regulations to regulate his business, and it's like you're saying this in a self-serving way. So right. So for me, the top candidate is Zuckerberg, without a doubt. I'll let you go, Chris.
So he's dreamy though. And I want to be like, like he does crush it. That's an interesting one, but to me, I think that there's two groups of people, and they're kind of related and kind of not. The first one is there is a world full of bullshit merchants online that say for $19.99, for $29.99 a month, for $1,000, we're going to teach you the answer to being a founder. How to market, how to do this thing. People that try to sell you shit are not your friends, and like with the notion that we're going to monetize like all this stuff.
But we're going to try to sell founders stuff.
Yeah, no, but like that. The point there is like you as a founder, be cautious about the shit that you buy, right? If you're
so who's
paying
the enemy? Who's the enemy?
The enemy are content creators, and oftentimes I hate saying this because I want to be a coach. Like it's something I think is super important. But there's a ton of these people are coaches that create their system for happiness and wealth. And the reality is there is no system for happiness and wealth. There's none. You can work with other founders to help you remove roadblocks to get to happiness and wealth, but you're not going to learn it in a class. That is not the journey. So that's one of them. I know it's a little fuzzier, but the second one I think is really.
So Tony Robbins.
I kind of
put a face to it.
Yeah, I kind of think Tony Robbins is full of shit.
All right.
Even though his moment in the TED Talk with Al Gore is one of the greatest moments of.
I haven't seen it. I'll have to check it out.
Oh, it's pretty incredible. So the other one, and this is it's almost a narrative, but I think bad VC is the enemy, and let me explain. I think in this world of entrepreneurship, and particularly in technology startups, which is the world that I came out of, there has been a narrative that you build and start companies to get funded. And over the past 3 years, 2 years, whatever it's been since the VC apocalypse, and a lot of our friends, a lot of people we know have gotten screwed. I heard stories about founders who were trying to raise their A round and their lead VCs wouldn't return their calls. Wouldn't call them back. That's bad VC, man. And there are good VCs out there, but there's a whole lot of people that are bad VCs.
I like this notion of VC because a lot of founders don't need to raise capital, and because you're bootstrapping a med spa in Louisville doesn't mean that wants to help men and women be healthier and do it in a different way. You're a founder that you don't need VC capital.
Bingo.
And so I agree with you on this. Just in general, this whole notion of how VC has corrupted entrepreneurship.
It's a narrative about how one very, very, very small piece of entrepreneurship, this tiny little slice, is the thing that we talk about the most. We talk about Zuckerberg. We talk about these things, and all of them got there because they took massive amounts of venture capital. Massive, right? We don't talk about these incredible companies that were built through bootstrapping. These incredible people who have built incredible lives for themselves and their family without ever sniffing venture capital. The point I want to make, and this is the main piece, is as a founder, your job is to build a great organization, period. There is one model of a great organization, which is super, super high growth, right? And that's a venture capital backed thing. But it's less than, what did we say? It's like less than 1/10 of 1%.
I don't really have the stats, but it's got to be. So of all companies started, it's probably 0.001%. It's probably next to nothing.
Right.
Successful venture capitalized businesses, it's got to be next to nothing. Which means it's making some people a lot of money and ruining the lives of a lot of people.
Right. And I mean, and you know, like this sort of narrative around how we, the business you should build, you are not successful unless you go raise VC. Like that is fundamentally untrue. There are some companies, okay, maybe if you have
or
an
raising
idea,
any capital,
any capital,
So,
right?
Yeah, outside of like an SBA loan, maybe all you need, right?
And one of the pieces, like we see this all the time, is with the founder. They're like, I would start this company if I had some investment, and we're like, dude, go get some revenue. And even if you do decide to raise capital, go build a successful organization so that you can dictate the terms of your capital.
On the raising capital side, and I gotta I'll pull up the slide at some point and share it with everybody. There's a direct correlation. So this magazine interviewed hundreds of founders, bootstrapped to VC founders, and they said, "Why did you fail? Why did your company fail?" And it was they all failed, and there was a direct correlation to the amount of money raised to money being the cause of your failure. So the more money you raised, the more likely you were to blame the lack of capital for your failure. The lowest on the list was bootstrapped founders. Almost none of them said a lack of money was the reason why they failed. It is incredibly damaging. The mindset is incredibly damaging. I totally agree with you.
It is. It's just
put a face
pervasive.
to it. Put a face to it. Peter Thiel?
I'm
on,
sure.
Who are we gonna make our enemy, Chris?
I think Peter Thiel would be good. I don't think he really cares. Here's the person, and I don't think he's a bad person, but I think Reid Hoffman, founder of LinkedIn, had a book called Blitzscaling. That's the enemy. I don't think he's a bad dude. I think he's probably a pretty smart guy, but I think that the narrative, that the way that you build value for yourself or society and your company is through this crazy ass concept of just raising. His whole thesis is you raise way more capital than you need. I just think it's bullshit.
I think it can work, right? But I agree with him in the case of like going like SpaceX. When you're trying to like do something ridiculous, anything that Elon Musk touches, right? That kind of stuff, like you need so much capital to be successful. But that is such a narrow. It is 0.001% of all companies that need to raise that kind of capital.
Right.
But
the problem is that that's the dominant narrative.
Right.
That's who we're listening to.
Right.
And so when a founder goes out and goes, I want to start a company, the next thing that pops into their mind is, where am I going to raise capital?
Right.
That's like should be the 90 million thing that pops in their mind. Like
All right,
they should
so
think about a lot of other stuff first.
Can we shoehorn Reid Hoffman into my regulatory capture and not helping? Can we use him for all three of our reasons?
I don't know if we.
Me
Oh,
either.
you know
All
what?
right.
No, here's what we do. Who's 0 to 1 is
That's I have no idea.
he's a VC guy, and I'll look it up as you're transitioning, and I'll tell you.
Yeah, so we actually, for our first, this is episode 1, this was a blast, Chris. Thank you. I'm looking forward to, we're going to be doing these every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 7 a.m. 7 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. You can follow Chris and I on LinkedIn, Anthony Franco, Chris Franks, and then please follow the podcast. Please follow our LinkedIn page, linkedin.com/company/howtofounder. Follow us there, and we're going to be broadcasting these live on LinkedIn every Tuesday, Thursday, and we have a lot of stuff coming, a lot of events. Oh, one initial announcement: we're going to be all over Denver Startup Week this year. So we've been asked to participate as How to Founder already in quite a bit of activities, including a VIP event on Monday and a really fun pitch event that we're going to be hosting on Thursday of that week. So be sure to follow us on linkedin.com/company/howtofounder. Chris, one last note. Did you find the author?
It's Peter Thiel, man. Peter Thiel. And,
yeah, Peter Thiel.
All
right,
he's
so
a VC guy, right?
I don't mind Peter Thiel as our enemy because it kind of encompasses the mentality of VC and regulatory capture and screwing the little guy.
Yeah,
right.
He says the only business worth having is a monopoly. And I'm like, really?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's our enemy, right?
Right. Yeah.
All right. All right. Very cool. So everybody, thank you for watching. Thank you for participating. We've got a lot of listeners actually, so that's just fantastic for our first podcast. Look for us, and also visit us on howtofounder.com if you want to get involved in the podcast and maybe jump in as a guest. We have lots of topics that Chris and I know nothing about that we're going to need your help. With that, we're signing out. Anthony, Chris, thank you so much.
Chris, thanks, guys.
Take care.